Hello everyone, and welcome to this new Dota Underlords video. Today we're going to be talking about the big update. So, the big update actually dropped like a few days ago by this point, but unfortunately I couldn't record any earlier because, basically I have one small problem is that I basically just can't record on weekends at all. Just, some real life stuff. And also, on Friday I was also dealing with some personal stuff, so unfortunately, even though this update came out on basically early Thursday, the 24th, I still couldn't do anything in terms of recording up until now. Of course, I did some playtesting. I've already played a bunch, and I've seen a lot of new stuff, but still, I couldn't record anything, so I apologize for that. But the routine should continue from now on. So, the big changelog. With the big update, Underlords takes a large step forward as we move closer to the end of the beta season and the beginning of season 1. So what is included in the appropriately named big update? We're so glad you asked. So I'm gonna run over those changes that I've already covered in the preview videos fairly quickly. At least I'll try to. So duos team up with a partner in crime to battle 7 other teams, blah blah blah. Currently, to queue up for duos, you'll need to form a party with a friend. So duos is like one of pretty much the most fun feature in this update. Everyone is playing it. The most hype is about that. Duos are super fun, and everyone is super happy. There are some duos tournaments coming up. Obviously, since I'm not big enough yet, I'm not going to participate in them. But it's going to be a great fun to watch. So if you're still unaware, you should probably search something like, Duos Underlords tournaments on Google, or Underlords Duos tournaments, and see for yourself. It's going to be amazing. Because, it turns out in order to swap heroes or gold, you don't actually need to pay anything at all. So hero swapping is completely free, as is gold swapping. It's not taxed in any way. And the only limitation is that you can't swap items, but I think it was kind of necessary. In terms of health loss or health gain from the outcomes of fights, it turns out that actually what happens is the total outcomes of both fights are added together, and basically the only health loss that happens is the net health loss. So, for example, if you win your matchup and your teammate loses their matchup, the game basically calculates who would have lost more health from that, and then basically the game calculates the difference between lost health on your team on the opponent's team, and only the health loss and only that difference is actually factored in. So only one team loses health from every encounter. Yeah, and it looked like there is only 100 health per team, so two players sitting at 100 health is kind of dangerous, but at the very least, the health loss can be greatly mitigated, to say the least. Freestyle, so create any combat scenario that you want and watch it play out in a custom sandbox. You can easily share the board that you've set up with others. So this is also, of course, like we already talked about, a really cool feature. It allows you to test out all kinds of scenarios you can come up with, see which team is stronger at which point of the game, and then based on those theories play actual matches and get actual results out of them. So general gameplay, jail is basically exactly what we've expected, except right here it says all alliances can still be completed even with these absences. This isn't exactly true. You see, the new hero Legion Commander is the only hero in the Champion Alliance, and of course Legion Commander can still be put in jail, and in that case, you won't be able to build a Champion Alliance at all. So that's something to watch out for. So, in the spirit of White Spire, a city completely infested, overrun by criminals, the patch notes don't always tell you the truth. So anyway, XP. XP is now advanced in increments of 5 instead of increments of 4. Each click of the XP wheel now spends 5 gold to gain 5 XP. The XP curve has been adjusted to compensate. So basically, it requires pretty much the same amount of gold to advance to any level as it previously was, but now the amounts of experience look much nicer, much cleaner. Like you can see here, they're all multiples of 4, and here they are multiples of 5, and it looks really neat. The most important things are, first of all, as you can see right now, you need basically 3 experience to advance from level 3 to level 4, and previously it was 2. So basically, if you don't invest in experience in the early game, you'll spend one more round being level 3 than you normally would. And then after that, the new good timings to level up, so you don't waste any gold or so you barely miss the experience, the new level point. The new level timings are right after creep rounds. So for example, after round 10, you'll have an experience that is a multiple of 5, and then you can press the level up button if you feel like it, and you'll basically level up to the next one, to level 5, for example, or whatever comes next. So this system is kind of cool for the late game because, beforehand, in the late game, people would always level up after creep rounds, for example, round 30. But after round 30, you are missing a few experience points in order to complete the level while paying a neat amount of gold. So you need to pay 5 extra gold, and you gain slightly more experience than you need. So a bit of golden experience is wasted. In this case, let's say after round 30, you get round 31, your experience will be a multiple of 5. So again, same thing, you can level up neatly to the next level, be it level 9 or level 10, depending on what strategy you're going. It's a lot cleaner, basically. Item drops. The table for item drops from wave 30 and beyond has been adjusted. So basically, the most important thing here is that you can now get tier 5 items starting with round 31, Black Dragon. So as you can see right now, before it was wave 30 Thunderhide, you would get tier 3 and tier 4 items, and then with Black Dragon you would still get tier 3 and tier 4 items with just slightly higher odds of getting tier 4. Now, what happens is the old wave 35 odds have been moved to round 30, while after fighting Black Dragon, you can now get tier 5 items. And then you get Trolls and you get another tier 5 item. And if you have Smuggler, you can get a tier 5 item after beating Thunderhides. So that's a very nice improvement, and tier 5 items have become a lot more common. So for example, you can even get sometimes, items like a higher class of criminal that were completely useless in the past because after being moved to tier 5, basically no one ever wants that item. But in this case, if you can get it after round 30, it might actually matter. You might be able to complete a 3-star, tier 4 unit like Doom or the newly added Bristleback using that higher class of criminal because there is still a fair amount of time left in the game. So UI changes. The UI has received a major overhaul. That's it. That's the entire section. Yeah, it would be really hard to explain what happened to the UI, but basically everything just feels new. What they did was, at least when you're playing from PC, you can basically see everything, all of the data that was previously under different tabs, like damage or items or what have you. On PC, you can now see them all together. Also, of course, there's the image of your Underlord, which we'll talk about in a second, as well as you can see all the current player standings. And basically, there's just a lot more data to work with without needing to click any buttons. There are some major complaints about the UI. Some of them stem from the fact that it's new and people are still getting adjusted to it. Some of them are legitimate, like the fact that the images of the Underlords are just way too big. Like there is no point for them to be that big. It looks like they may still improve it in the future. I mean, obviously they will improve everything, but UI included. So here are voice lines. Voice Spire got a lot more chatty. Almost every hero in Underlords has received a ton of voice lines, with a remaining few on the way. So this is actually another one of my favorite changes because there is just so much banter going on right now, and for a lot of different situations too. It's completely amazing, listening to all those new lines, all the new jokes, all the new, lore bits. And yeah, especially the jokes are amazing. Like, for example, how everyone complained that Broodmother was included in the Insect Alliance, even though she clearly isn't an insect, so Broodmother has a joke about that in her lines. Crystal Maiden has a joke about being a mana battery, like basically saying something like you want her only for her mana. So yeah, a lot of self-awareness, a lot of great humor, very well played developers. Very nice. Underlords. So starting with the big update, you'll be able to pick either Hobgon or an Essex to be your Underlord. Yeah, so we've talked about those Underlords at length. You'll be able to modify them throughout the game to fit your current crew by selecting talents every 5 rounds, starting at round 10. So the thing that to keep in mind here is that Underlords gain talents before the creep round actually starts. So you don't get to the overlap of basically both having to choose a talent and an item at the same time. That doesn't happen. Instead, you just select a talent, then you defeat the neutrals or lose to them, and then you select an item. Hype is required to power each of your Underlord's abilities. So, yeah, keep in mind the most important things here. Every time an Underlord kills a unit, they gain 10 hype. Each Underlord generates passive hype in a unique way. If an Underlord is stunned or hexed, they lose 5 hype per second while under those effects. When the enemy Underlord is killed, your Underlord is empowered and gains twice as much hype for the rest of the fight. The hype is not consumed when an Underlord casts an ability, so basically there is an important thing that why the reason it's important is right here. As long as your Underlord's hype is above the threshold for an ability, then your Underlord will cast it whenever it is ready. So basically, your Underlord starts gaining hype as the round starts. Then as soon as they gain 15, I think, they can cast the first ability, and then when it comes off cooldown, they can cast it immediately again. And then I think at 30 hype or something like that, or maybe 45, they gain access to their second ability. They can't cast it otherwise at all, only if they gain enough hype. And then at maximum hype, which I think is 100, they gain access to their ultimate ability, if they already have it, because you need to pick it at round 20. You only get to pick it, rather. And yeah, so basically the fact that it isn't consumed is very important, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to keep casting them. But like this, by having your hype at maximum, first of all, if it's drained, you won't suffer too much from it, because you'll still be able to cast 2 other abilities. And like I was afraid that, you could get too much hype too quickly and it will start being wasted. Well, it turns out this isn't the case, and the system is completely different. My only complaint about this hype system is that it usually takes Underlords like way too long to actually accumulate enough hype to get it to 100 and to cast their ultimate ability, which those ultimate abilities, they can really turn the fight around, but more often than not, the fight has already ended when they cast it. So that's, very unfortunate. Maybe in the future there will be some adjustments made, or maybe, players will just find new inventive ways to gain hype faster in order to maximize the efficiency of their Underlord. Trash talk, of course, the Underlords came with a whole variety of voice lines, which include, again, emotes that you can use instead of the old, RNG hates me, or, good game, I destroy that round, what you used to have. Now instead you have voiced emotes by those Underlords, which are unique. The new heroes, we've covered them at length in our update preview videos. So Nyx Assassin, it turns out very strong, not only because of the spike carapace, but because of the break effect. A great assassin, and while it isn't as powerful in the late game as I expected, it can still do a lot of work. And its insect tag is also very valuable. Talk about it in a second. So Shadow Demon, Heartless Demon. The Demon Alliance has been changed in that patch. Actually, I'll also talk about that in a second, but basically what this means is Shadow Demon doesn't do as much damage as we expected because of the change to the Demon Alliance, but still, those tags are extremely valuable, and very often Shadow Demon is contested in the early game. Dazzle, Troll Healer, pretty much everything we expected. There are basically no deviations here. Magnus, Shaman Brute, Empower. Again, Shamans have been changed slightly. Also talk about that in a second. Magnus is very valuable, actually, but you do need the right units to make it work. And its tags, you also need to make good use of them. in order for this unit to actually be valuable. Weaver, insect hunter. So, like I said, as we found out, insects are fairly strong, and the hunter tag makes Weaver a cornerstone of the insect hunter build, which is one of the strongest right now, as far as I understood. And yeah, the ability is pretty much what we expected, constantly moves around, constantly attacks enemies from different angles, and has a lot of survivability as a result. Io, Primordial Druid, yeah, no big deal. It looks like the relocate ability doesn't scale with levels. I was kind of hoping that, the teleportation delay or, the hero revival delay would scale with levels as well, but it just doesn't. Like, the relocate, it stays exactly the same for all levels, and the only thing that changes is the scaling on tether, attack speed, and damage reduction. Legion Commander, first of all, it has a dragon ability, as expected, because it should, Legion Commander gets ability effects from all alliances, so naturally she should get one from dragons as well. So here we go. It's called Will of the Bull Snake. Unlocked by Dragon Alliance passive, when Legion Commander wins a duel, she instantly heals for 50% of her maximum health. The problem with Legion Commander is that people aren't quite sure how to make her work just yet, because, considering that she doesn't contribute to that many alliances, she very often ends up just being the third wheel, or the fifth wheel, I guess you could say, that you can't really squeeze in. And her stats aren't that impressive, so it can be fairly hard for her to win duels and actually gain that damage, that scaling, that is the main reason you pick her. Kind of awkward, and for that reason as well, it's kind of hard to say whether or not this Will of the Bull Snake ability is worth pretty much anything. Lifestealer, Heartless Brute, so important change. Lifestealer is tier 3 instead of tier 1. I guess they tested out tier 1 and decided that they can't actually make it work at tier 1, so they just made it tier 3 instead. Pretty simple. Bristleback. Bristleback is one of the strongest heroes in the game right now, and the best part is he doesn't really even need those tags you have here. Neither Brawny nor Savage are that relevant throughout most of the game. Like, basically what Bristleback does is he just sprays his quills everywhere, and that already does so much damage that, the tags are kind of irrelevant for the most part. Yeah, the Savages and Brawnies get some changes. We'll talk about it shortly, but right now let's just focus on the new heroes. So, Broodmother, Insect Warlock, so the cooldown is fairly long, but the effect is actually super strong because, losing so much movement speed, it's gonna be really hard for the enemies to reposition. And then with the cast speed loss, it's very likely that they might die without using their spells, just like we expected. So now that we've covered all of the new insects, except for Sand King, I think it's time to talk about the Insect Alliance. So basically what Insect Alliance does, like it said before, spiderlings spawn from outside the map and just run at the opponents from all directions. So the two things to keep in mind here is that spiders, first of all, spiders are super weak. They have 1 health, so they die from literally anything. Even like Alchemist Acid Spray basically completely nullifies them because they just keep running into this acid spray and dying. Second of all, they are infinite. They keep spawning and spawning and spawning and spawning. There is nothing that can stop them except, actually defeating your opponent, like destroying all of your opponent's other units. Then and only then will the spiders stop coming. So it turns out it's really strong, especially in the early game where, the mischance matters a lot because everyone's physical attacks matter a lot. And those spiders, they can just completely wreck you. It can be kind of hard to complete in the early game because you need at least one tier 4 unit. You need Weaver, Nyx Assassin, and then either Sand King or Broodmother to complete it in the early game. Or, of course, you can use Sand King Broodmother in tandem, and then use either Weaver or Nyx Assassin, depending on which build you're going. Maybe Hunters, maybe Assassins. Sand King lost his Assassin tag. He's now just a Insect Savage, which I think is perfectly fine. And still, together, the 3 insects are really strong, and it's definitely worth completing them if you get a chance to. And the last 2 ones are the new aces, Faceless Void and Sven. They are pretty much exactly what we expected. The main problem here is that Sven can turns out to be extremely hard to make work. It turns out the knight shields were extremely valuable for protection, so when you lose them, your team just kind of dies. Against high damage comps like assassins or let's say mages or maybe 6 hunters, this can completely destroy you in 3 seconds, this ability. But against compositions like let's say warriors or brutes, which are, tanky, you just lose the survivability, but you still don't do enough damage to actually kill them fast enough, so you die anyway. So yeah, Sven is kind of awkward. It's still not exactly clear how to use it properly, except maybe just add it with Dragon Knight to some other composition that doesn't have knights as its core. Then they might work well together, because Sven also has a bunch of useful tags. But that's about it. So hero changes, though a very important change right here. Honestly, if I were the developers, I would have written this change at the very top of the patch notes, because all heroes have had their health doubled from their current values. So this basically means that what used to be 2-star health is now 1-star health, and what used to be 3-star health values are now 2 stars. So everyone has a lot of health. Everyone is tanky and survivable, and is virtually guaranteed to get their spells off. And in this kind of setup, sustained damage compositions are extremely strong, because something like, again, savages who constantly gain damage from attacking, they can survive a lot longer, and as a result, they can do a lot more damage. Assassins, for example, who just hit super hard with their basic attacks, they can also survive a lot longer, and as a result, also inflict just titanic amounts of damage. Mages have become a lot weaker because now people don't even often need scaled to protect from them. You just basically just have so much health that mages just can't punch through it, and you just run over them because they don't do anything. So playing mages can be extremely awkward. I've already tried it, and yeah, the results were mixed, to say the best. So it's a huge change. It's probably one of the most important here, actually. You gotta watch out for that when you're building your new compositions. So anti-mage changed from elusive demon hunter to elusive assassins. Again, because the demon alliance has been changed, demon hunters can have been removed from the game completely. There are no more demon hunters now. Anti-mage is an elusive assassin. Yeah, now he doesn't have mana. I'm actually not sure why he had mana in the first place, considering he doesn't have an active ability, but okay, fair enough. Yeah, and mana break also burns hype from Underlords, so this is really important. So this allows anti-mage to basically completely destroy your backline, because he jumps on your backline now, being an assassin, and he just, goes to town, burns mana from your mages, your warlocks, your Underlord, burns hype from your Underlord, and can do a lot of work, even more. Like, you thought anti-mage was useful or strong before, yeah, check him out now. Also, the fact that he's an elusive assassin makes it so there are now 3 different elusive assassins. There is Phantom Assassin, Templar Assassin, and Anti-Mage, so those are kind of big 3 for the assassins. You can just put them together and you already have 2 really strong synergies. Elusives have also been changed a bit. I'll talk about it in a second. But for now, let us continue on to other changes to already existing heroes. So Axe. Alliance has changed from Brawny Warrior to Brawny Brute. So yeah, basically, Axe and Doom, like I expected, have been moved from warriors to brutes. They are no longer warriors. And this is a pretty big blow against warriors. And it allows you to get a 4 brute synergy online rather easily, which is actually pretty cool, because when brutes attack enemies, those enemies get their attack damage reduced by 40% when you can get those 4 brutes online. You can just completely nullify the damage of, well, at the very least, of the enemy front line, and then you'll be able to just out-sustain them even though you don't have that warrior armor or knight shields. So that is extremely good. Sticky Napalm. Cell range changed from 2 to 1. So again, the same thing with all of the kind of sustained damage abilities like Savages or Batrider. They had to be nerfed in some way because they have become a lot stronger thanks to the double health change. In case of Batrider, cell radius or range being changed from 2 to 1 should keep his damage output under control a bit. So Bloodseeker Alliance changed from Human Deadeye Assassin to Bloodbound Deadeye. I think it should have been Bloodbound from the start, honestly, but here, having those tags means that, Bloodseeker always goes for kind of backline heroes. This allows him to die faster, which then allows your other Bloodbound units to charge up faster and do more damage. I guess this is the main use for Bloodseeker right now. Because, no longer being an assassin, he doesn't do that much damage, even with, Helm of the Undying. Still not landing critical strikes is really unfortunate. And especially considering, again, since all of the health has been doubled, Bloodseeker has trouble actually killing anything. So again, he isn't about sustained damage, he's more about burst damage, and then if he kills something, then he transitions to sustained damage, but if he doesn't, he's just useless. So I guess the main usage for Bloodseeker right now is just have it at 1 star, have it run in and die, so that your other Bloodbounds could be charged up faster, and that's pretty much it. Crystal Maiden, tier changed from 3 to 2, removed Arcane Aura, added Frostbite. So yeah, instead of her aura, which was passive, now she has an active ability, which is actually crowd control. So that's really good. Crystal Maiden is definitely worth picking up. And then there are still ways to gain mana, so don't worry about removing Arcane Aura. It's just these ways to gain mana are no longer attached to Crystal Maiden, even though it looks like mages got hit really hard in this patch. Actually, the mana gain is one area where they actually didn't get hit, so to speak. So anyway, Doom Alliance has changed from Demon Warrior to Demon Brute. Yeah, and Doom cooldown changed from 10 to 20 basically. They realized Doom was a little bit too strong in the previous meta, so in this new patch they decided to slightly nerf it. Of course, not being a warrior and instead being a brute could be already seen as a nerf by a lot of people. I'm not one of those people. I actually welcome the new brute change. It's honestly really fine. Like I said, you can get 4 brutes online kind of easily, reduce the damage of a lot of enemies by 40%, and then just outlast them, just like you do with warriors, just in a different way. And I think it's really cool. And warriors have been the most popular alliance for a long time, so nerfing them like that I think is definitely welcome. So Eidolon. This is the Eidolons that are summoned by the Primordial Synergy. Since there are now 7 Primordial units in the game, it's now possible to achieve a level 3 Primordial Alliance. So there are now level 3 Eidolons who have 15 armor, 160 damage to 240 damage, and I guess they also have a lot more health. I think they actually have something along the lines of 2000 health or some such. And then there is new Primordial Ace effect, which we are approaching rapidly. First of all, we have to get Enchantress out of the way, which is really easy because all she did was just receive a healer tag. So Enchantress is even stronger, but not just in the early game, she can now be strong in the mid game as well, thanks to this healer alliance. Because you remember, an Essex has an ability that heals allies. She actually heals all of her allies with that ability. So the healer alliance, together with that an Essex heal, gets great value. So Enigma changed from Ace of Shamans to Ace of Primordials. Old Ace effect, enemies affected by hexes, silences, or stuns will not generate mana when attacked, 15% chance of fighting. So new Ace effect, allied Eidolons cast Malefice on their killer, stunning them for 0.4 seconds every 2 seconds. The effect lasts 2 seconds per Primordial Alliance level. So if you have level 3 Primordial Alliance, this will last 6 seconds and stun the enemy 3 times for 0.4 seconds. So basically a really long stun, or a really annoying stun, I should say, that can, interrupt important abilities, randomly switch aggro of enemies, because that's what stuns do in this game. They switch aggro very often. The target takes 50 damage per Primordial Alliance level each time they are stunned. Well, that's not very relevant, just, like 150 damage isn't that impressive when the game goes so late that you have, 6 Primordials and an Ace. Plus 15% chance of fighting if you have at least one level of the Primordial Alliance complete. Yeah, of course. And Midnight Pulse, Enigma's Midnight Pulse actually got nerfed to, to coincide with the health change again. So now his damage output basically remains the same as before. Because, the health has been doubled, so normally, which this means that the Midnight Pulse output would also double, because it's a percentage-based number. But they just cut it in half, so now the damage remains exactly the same as it was before. Gyrocopter, all days effects grants Deadeye units True Strike. Units with True Strike cannot miss. Now, attacks from Deadeye units pierce their main target, dealing 100% damage per Deadeye Alliance level to a unit behind them. So there are still 3 Deadeyes, so it can only be completed at level 1. But I think it's a much better ace effect because it basically gives them AoE damage output. Area of effect. Very cool. Keeper of the Light, again, to coincide with the health change, except they thought Keeper of the Light would be completely useless now, because, not only does he do, AoE magical damage, but he also does it super late because of how much mana it costs, so they just changed it back to 100 mana, so he actually does something now, instead of completely nothing. Which I think is a welcome change, but it doesn't help mages in the early game that much. They still have major troubles, punching through all of this glorious health that everyone now has. So Lena, attack rate changed from 0.625 to 0.714. Tier changed from 2 to 3. So yeah, damage changed. Damage has been increased and now says targets on fire. So basically, again, they swapped Lena and Crystal Maiden's tiers between 2 and 3 a long time ago, and now they just bring that change back, so Lena is tier 3 again, and Crystal Maiden is tier 2 again. He buffed to damage, but it was kind of necessary because of transition from tier 2 to tier 3. Most of the damage abilities in this game still have exact same values, so that's why the survivability has been increased with the 2 times health and everything, but Lena being switched from tier 2 to tier 3 had to get a buff as well, so there it is. Now it says targets on fire for 5 seconds. I'm not sure exactly how much damage that does, but I think this has synergy with Hobgen, because Hobgen likes the targets being set on fire, so I guess that contributes to that, as well as maybe does some decent damage over time. I'm hoping. Medusa changed from Ace of Scale to Ace of Hunters. All these effect grants scaled units retaliate, as we all know, and new ace effect is hunters deal extra 5% attack damage per hunter alliance level for each other hunter attacking the same target, plus 15% chance of fighting. Yeah. So this is basically the effect of an old ability that has been removed from the game for a long time now. It was called Hunter's Focus. You could find it as an item after neutral rounds. So what it did was exactly that. If multiple hunters were attacking the same target, they would deal extra damage. And now this effect is back, except this is an ace effect now. So this makes hunters a lot stronger, much, much stronger. At all stages, not at all stages of the game, but there are multiple different hunter builds. You can go 6 hunters and just annihilate everything in 5 seconds, or you can go 3 hunters and just have great sustained damage with a tougher front line. And yeah, hunters are just basically excellent right now. They are one of the strongest compositions, no matter which way you spin them. Nature's Prophet Alliance has changed from Elusive Druid to Druid Shaman. Necrophos Alliance has changed from Heartless Warlock to Heartless Healer. So basically, like I expected, like I predicted, Broodmother does replace Necrophos as a tier 4 Warlock, and Necrophos is just a healer now. So while this allows healers to be easily completed in knights, because, again, Omni Knight is a human knight healer now, then you add Necrophos and Dazzle, and you have healer troll knights quite easily. This also means that Warlock, Necrophos isn't a Warlock anymore, so sustainability has been reduced in some areas at least. Because, Necrophos actually did a lot of AoE damage and healed allies for more that way, but now he's a healer, so he just amplifies his own healing instead of doing the Warlock thing. Sand King Alliance has changed from Savage Assassin to Savage Insect. We've already covered that. Savage tag isn't that valuable, but the Insect tag is very strong at certain stages of the game. Shadow Shaman maximum mana changed to 70, and Hex cooldown changed from 10 to 8, and mana cost changed from 100 to 70. So Shadow Shaman is a lot stronger overall, I think, with the additions of new 2 Shamans, and I think Shaman Synergy can have a level 2 now. Shamans have been a lot stronger and have a lot more presence, so they had to be nerfed, and they nerfed them a bit. Just let me reach it to actually see it. Slark, Essence Shift Stolen attack speed changed from 357 to 123. This was again necessary because of the doubling health on all of the units, so Slark has incredible sustained damage. He just, the longer he survives, the more damage he does. It like scales exponentially, so to speak. I'm not sure how exactly true it is, but anyway, I'll just say it because it sounds cool. So yeah, Slark damage scales super well, so they had to nerf it in order to for Slark to not completely ball out of control. With all those beefcakes running around, and Slark himself being a lot beefier as well. Terribly, the alliance has changed from Demon Hunter to just Demon Hunter. Those are 2 different alliances, by the way. Again, another hunter being added to the game, so there are basically like 9 or even 10 hunters in the game right now, so it's really easy to build hunters, and again, because of Medusa, they can have a lot of impact, and because of Weaver as well. There are a lot of hunter builds that are super strong, just like I already said. Tiny Toss stun duration changed from 1.5, 2.0, 2.5 to 1.0, 1.5, 2.0. Cooldown changed from 10.86 to 10.98. So Tiny, again, considering everything is beefier, Tiny gets to survive longer, toss more times, and it had to be addressed, so they decided to just nerf it. Like this. Treant Protector, Alliance has changed from Elusive Druid to Druid Brute, so yeah, this is one important thing I wanted to talk about together with Nature's Prophet, because this means that Elusives no longer have any Druids in them, so this guy is now a Brute Druid, or Druid Brute, and Nature's Prophet is now a Druid Shaman. So yeah, Elusives lost all of their Druids, but this also makes a great combo for the Druids themselves. You can get Treant Protector, Nature's Prophet, and Magnus, and then you have 2 Brutes, 2 Shamans, and 2 Druids, and all of those synergies will be activated. So that's a lot of value from just those 3 heroes. Warlock, Alliance has changed from Bloodbound Warlock to Bloodbound Warlock Healer. So same thing as the change, was just slightly more useful at all stages of the game, thanks to the Healer Alliance and being able to sustain allies a little bit better, as long as you get to actually complete those alliances. So yeah, new alliances, Brute, already described it. So yeah, 40% is definitely worth to go for if you are getting the right pieces, especially considering they include Treant Protector, who is super strong, and Doom, who is great, still great in the late game, even despite that slight nerf. Champion, yeah, Champion we know already. Champions receive all alliance bonuses. Healer, all friendly healing is amplified by 30%, so that number is a lot lower than some people expected. Healers aren't like super strong by any means, but if you can complete them, it's definitely a worthwhile investment because there is a lot of healing in the game currently, and with all of it being amplified, it gives great sustain. And again, because everything has double the health values, the sustain could definitely come in handy. When you have a lot of health, all of your healing and all of your regeneration goes a lot further because it can be applied multiple times, more often, and then you just basically have a high chance of becoming completely unkillable unless the enemy has enough sustained damage. Insect, yeah, like I said already, insects are really strong. Definitely worthwhile to complete if you can, even if you don't have like Assassin or Hunter synergies. Just slapping Weaver, Nyx Assassin, and Broodmother together can already be game changing because these spiderlings actually do very real damage, even though each individual spider does super low damage, but the mischance together with the constant swarm of spiders, it really hurts, especially in the early game. So alliance changes, old. Brawny units gain 30 or 60 maximum health for each kill they have, and now, new one, Brawny units gain 15 and 30 maximum health, so yeah, as you can see, it's been a little bit reduced, but they gain it for each kill all of your team Brawny units throughout the game. By any of your team Brawny units. So basically, you can have Beastmaster, who racks up a lot of kills with those axes and with his Hunter bonus, maybe. And then this Beastmaster, basically every kill he gets, health is granted to every other Brawny. So, remember like how I said in the preview video, I was kind of afraid that Bristleback's Brawny tag was basically going to do nothing because he wouldn't be able to get too many kills by himself. Well, first of all, it turns out not to be true, and he actually can get a lot of kills by himself because just his quill spray damage output is ridiculous. But also, it turns out that he doesn't really need to because someone like Beastmaster can just do it for him. No problem. Deadeye, in addition to the standard alliance bonus, melee Deadeye units gain phasing movement, so yeah, Bloodseeker can just run through enemies. Honestly, I thought he did it before, but maybe he did it because he was an assassin, and now since he's no longer an assassin, this change was kind of required. Demon, so yeah, demon alliances are important. Also, one of the most important changes. So demon units gain plus 50% pure damage, active when you only have one type of demon on the board. This was the old one. The new one is, whenever a demon casts a spell, for 4 seconds all demons are silenced, and the caster gains plus 50% bonus pure damage for each allied demon. So the reason all is highlighted like that in bold letters is because this includes enemy demons. So when your demon casts a spell, it not only silences your other demons, but it also silences enemy demons. This means demon compositions are indeed a lot more common, like we suspected, because in Essex, this Underlord here gains more hype per demon, per allied demon. But this also means that you can basically chain those demons together. So if you know which one of them will cast their spell first, you can basically set it up so that one demon casts a spell and then gains this bonus pure damage for 4 seconds. Then those 4 seconds end, your second demon casts their spell and gains that bonus damage. And then your third demon casts a spell and then they gain this bonus damage. So it's basically damage output is spread more evenly among your demons, and you can still make them all work in this new synergy. So, and again, the fact that enemy demons are also silenced can be super annoying. Like I tried playing Shadow Fiend. Shadow Fiend is basically unplayable right now unless you just slap a Mask of Madness on it, because he basically, because of his long dancing animation that he has to perform in order to cast his Requiem, he just basically doesn't get to use it at all, and just spends half of his time just standing there dancing while he could be attacking. So I'm pretty sure the only way to play Shadow Fiend right now is with Mask of Madness, because the other one just doesn't work. Just forget about his Warlock tag, have another Warlock that can make better use of it, and have Shadow Demon just be an auto attacker. So yeah, Demon Hunter removed from the game. Demon Hunters have taken up other jobs on the streets of White Spire. White Spire really changes people, I guess you could say. Elusive, all elusive units gain 25 to 50% evasion. New one, all elusive units gain a 10 or 20% chance to gain 100% evasion and plus 35 attack speed for 3 seconds when attacked. So this is a lot better for those elusive assassins, like we've described before. Anti-mage, the trifecta of anti-mage, phantom assassin, and TA. They can now do even more work using this elusive bonus because, not only 100% evasion, being completely immune to auto attacks unless they're critical strikes for 3 seconds, but also attack speed that allows them to hopefully land more critical strikes of their own. So yeah, anti-mage, phantom assassin, templar assassin combo is really strong, but about 6 elusives, people are not sure because, not only are assassins more popular because they do sustained damage, and assassins are a hard counter to elusives, but also elusives just lost all of their druids, which had a lot of value. So yeah, people are kind of afraid to play elusives right now. Human. So this is another big one. Old, all human units gain a chance to silence target. And new one, allies generate 4, 7, or 10 mana per second. So there. This is the replacement for your Crystal Maiden. Basically now, the mana aura doesn't come from her, but instead it comes from the human alliance. So this means that, humans are, you can put humans basically in any composition and they will be useful. Even if they don't get to attack the enemies too much, because, it's no longer about the silence. Now it's just about the mana gain. So in a roundabout way, humans still help you use your spells earlier than the enemy, like they did before. Just before they did it by rudely interrupting your enemies, and now they do it by helping your allies instead. This is really cool. Since you often complete, mages in, since you often complete 4 humans in mages anyway, you'll get this 7 mana per second. I think this aura is weaker than Crystal Maiden used to be, but still, it makes sure that you still get to cast all of your spells, especially coupled with the new double health thing. Primordial. So Primordial Alliance changed from 2-4 to 2-4-6, allowing for strong rank 3 Eidolons. Yeah, we already talked about that. So Eidolons, you can build super strong Eidolons, and it's apparently it's a legit build right now. I haven't tried it myself yet, but I've seen some videos of people just playing 6 Primordials, and with Enigma and the stuns, those are like legit tanks basically, and they allow your backliners or what have you to do more damage, to really do more damage like the old Eidolons. So I was hoping the Primordial Alliance bonus would be changed. It didn't, but it did become better. Savage attack damage gain decreased from 7-15-25 to 4-8-15. So basically, yeah, because of the double health change, this was necessary, because the longer savages survive, the more damage they do, similar to Slark, except they do it as an alliance, so it's multiple pieces. So this nerf had to be done in order to keep their damage under control. Shaman, old. Units attacking a shaman have 70% chance of being turned into a chicken and hop 4 cells in a random direction. New. Units attacking a shaman have a 17% chance of being turned into a chicken and hop 2 or 4 cells in a random direction. Each shaman can only turn each enemy into a chicken once per battle. So while this whole once per battle thing seems like a nerf, you have to keep in mind that shamans are a lot more common because there are now 5 of them in the pool, as well as the fact that when there are so many, they can, and it still says each shaman can only turn each enemy into a chicken. So basically, every shaman you have can still turn every enemy into a chicken at least once. They can't do that anymore afterwards, but still, that's a lot of chickens, especially when you have 4 shamans. It's basically the KFC meta back again. When the Enigma Ace effect was introduced for the first time, if you remember, it was basically that Enigma made it so that every ally had a chance to turn an enemy into a chicken when attacked. This is basically the same thing, except it's more balanced because, every shaman can only do it once to every enemy. But this is still really cool. And I think it's situationally strong. Like, obviously, you shouldn't prioritize shamans over other alliances because, it doesn't do damage, nor does it increase you, super high survivability. Give you super high survivability, but it's definitely worthwhile to complete if you can. New item is a tier 3 item. Equipped hero always attacks the enemy underlord if able. Equipped hero against the enemy underlord remove 10 hype. 3 seconds cooldown. I guess this cooldown means that you attack an enemy once, 10 hype is removed, and then you have to wait 3 seconds until you can remove 10 hype from them again. So this is a very interesting mechanic because it makes it so that basically, if you put it on a melee unit, that melee unit will run straight for the enemy underlord no matter who it is. It might not be an assassin, it might be a hunter, it might be like a warrior. They will always run in straight for the underlord and attack them. Obviously better for a ranged unit because ranged units can often attack enemy underlords without actually moving, but it's a pretty big deal because, with hype, underlords are able to spam abilities which aren't like super broken or super powerful, but considering they cast them constantly, being able to use those abilities while your enemy isn't can give you a pretty big advantage. Another item, Celebratory Murder Gong. Love that name, by the way. It's absolutely amazing. It's a tier 2 item, and every time the equipped hero gets a kill, they generate 20 hype for your underlord. So Like we've said before, when an Underlord kills an enemy, they get 10 hype. This gives you 20 hype when another unit, who might be more capable of killing, kills an enemy. So, for example, you can put it on your main DPS if you don't have a DPS item, and when that hero can generate a lot of hype for your Underlord, which then results in your ultimate ability, which is actually really hard to charge up. This might result in your Underlord actually using this ultimate ability a lot earlier and to a great effect, unlike what happens usually when they use it when the battle is already over. Item changes. So big time contract, mainly what they did here was boost the health bonuses of every item to coincide with the double health change on all units. So health bonus changed from 250 to 500, Eye of Skadi to 800, Heart of Torek to 2000, Mechanism healing changed to 500, same thing. Fall from Grace removed, so basically you don't have as many Heartless as we suspected we would. But this is actually really good because Heartless are super easy to complete, and at least not everyone is running 4 Heartless every game right now. Healing Ward, heal per second change from 20 to 40. Again, same thing to accommodate the double health change. Tombstone, armor changed from 20 to 10 because it currently has 4,000 health. So might as well tone it down slightly. Vanguard's same thing, increased to 500, and Vitality Booster also increased to 500. So yeah, just a lot of, tweaking and improving health bonuses to accommodate the double health change, basically. So that is pretty much it for the big update. And indeed, it was super big. As you can see right now, I keep scrolling and scrolling, scrolling and scrolling, scrolling, and still can't reach the top. There we go. So yeah, this update is huge. It's super fun. If you haven't played Dota Underlords yet, or if you have given up on it a while ago, now would be definitely a good time to come back because everyone is still learning the ropes, even pro players. So, and there is a lot to learn, and it's all super fun. So, if you've been considering playing Underlords but too shy to try yet, now would be a great time to actually hop in and have some fun. So that's going to be it for this video. I'm hoping to release a more gameplay videos of this update really soon, so stay tuned for that. If you're enjoying what you're seeing here, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. So goodbye, and take care, everybody.